WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We Should Know is on the air. My name is J.W. Simmons. I'm your host each and every week, 2:30 on Tuesdays, simulcast on WCLN Radio, Star Communications TV, 7 p.m. Tuesday, Thursday, Star Communications TV. We look forward to seeing you each and every week. Today we're talking about some of the most important things that may be happening in our life, and it builds itself around our young children. Donna Jackson, CEO of Partnership for Children, is with us today. Donna, I want to thank you for taking time in your extremely busy schedule to come in and have a conversation with us.
Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm very excited about sharing my information today.
Absolutely. Donna, I noticed that you've got an overwhelming background in education, 27 years experience in early childhood education with a variety of jobs, including teaching, assistant principal, pre-K coordinator, instructional coaching. You've been with the Partnership for Children now 4 years, 3 years as early learning specialist. So you actually were groomed within that context of the partnership. Your executive director position since September 2021. Also, the thing that strikes me is a word I see a lot, and it's something called passion for the job. I want to kind of explore that as well. Your beliefs and your really firm belief in this early childhood part about children. Let's talk about Partnership for Children, though, just kind of overall. The partnership addresses a certain age range of children. Talk to us about that.
Well, the partnership offers a wide variety of resources for young children, 0 to age 5. And it offers a strong educational environment no matter what resource we're working through. That might be the public schools, it might be child care facilities, it might be one-on-one with a parent through a PAT program. So we have a number of programs out there to touch a wide variety of audiences that we feel can help with that age limit of 0 to age 5, getting children prepared for that first step into kindergarten.
I've often heard that age group that you just mentioned is probably the critical formative years of a child. And often maybe folks don't realize it, but I also understand that maybe that's the formative years that we miss that actually affects what that person looks like as an adult.
That's exactly right.
That's kind of profound in my thinking.
That's right. We have, through research, learned, and there's tons of research out there now that you can pull and read on about early education. In fact, 90% of the child's brain is developed by age 5 or 5.5. And the brain is the only organ that when a child is born, it is not developed. So you see that by age 5 or 5.5 that it's developed 90%. And then from that point on, it reaches a plateau. And at that point, each person, I believe, develops at their own rate according to their learning environments that they're offered from that point on. So we recognize the fact that that early education, that first learning environment they step into, whether that's a child care center, whether it's homeschooling, whether it is with a parent at home or in a pre-K classroom, makes a huge difference. That's what spurred me as a young person wanting to go into education. Because the brain develops 90% from age 0 to 5, I remember my first year of kindergarten being more than any grade level that I was in. So we realize and recognize that memories are built there, and you can form that brain, you can mold that brain into becoming a strong learner at that point. We can teach the child to think more. I think a lot of problems that we see is that children are not allowed to think through problems. They are given answers too quickly. We have to use that wait time and allow the child to solve problems and learn how to think through things. That starts firing up dendrites. Dendrites are things that help grow the brain. So we want to make sure we're focusing on those things in our classrooms or our daycare centers or even the homes where a parent may be homeschooling a child. But yes, those early years make a huge difference. And I just read an article that talked about it makes such a big difference. 44% graduation increase rate for children that are in a early education environment from age 0 to 5. That is a quality learning environment. Now, there's a difference. They need to be in a quality learning environment.
The part of this has always fascinated me is this development piece. And it's almost like, as I hear you talking, that if we don't get this right, that this is kind of the fundamentals of the foundation of our capacity to learn. And if we don't get that right, then we deal with that flaw for the rest of our life.
That's right. And that's why I think the state, federal and state monies are being put so heavily into early education now. And you even see other businesses trying to focus on making sure that money is going in that area, because even as far as the prisons go, later on in life you see less people in prison because they were taught early on maybe to follow rules. You know, we focus on that in the pre-K classroom. We start them out young with following rules, following guidelines. That teaches them that in life you have rules to go by. And, you know, it is well known that people like guidelines. They like to know that there are things to follow, and this is the way we should do things. They might not do them like they should, but they do like guidelines. Children do especially, rules in the classroom. So that leads me into like the pre-K classroom. That is one of the first, usually the first learning environments that a child steps into, because it's geared for 4-year-old children who are on or before August 31st. So they have to make sure that this environment is right for that child. Different levels of learning is offered. We have centers that is planned play. We offer a structured curriculum called the creative curriculum that the teachers follow to develop their lesson plans. And this is a well-researched curriculum that guides the teacher on developmental domains. We also have a strong assessment that they use to assess the children. And that is done on a daily basis. Yes, a daily basis, where they might take a picture of a child interacting in a group or whatever they're doing with the lesson. They upload it to a site on TS Gold Strategies, and it puts them on a developmental domain that they can share with the parent through a conversation or a meeting they would have with the parent. So we make sure that the setting is right in the pre-K classrooms to start that educational journey on the right foot. We also make sure that there are centers available for children in pre-K. I remember as a kindergarten child going to centers, and that was one of the things that's planned that helps you learn through play. It's not that we just go put out a bunch of toys. It's that it's critically planned and strategically lesson planned that we know what's going to happen in those centers. A good example would be if a teacher is going to have a theme that week or that month on maybe trees or plants, then they would make sure that each center is strategically planned to target those learning objectives on plants or trees. The teacher may at circle time discuss, okay, this week we're going to be looking and talking about trees. We're going to be looking at different types of barks. We might be looking at different types of leaves. And each center is set up to target those types of things. You may have different types of bark in the science center. You might have different types of leaves in the math center where they can count the leaves. Maybe they count the red ones, count the yellow ones. In the language center, which is reading, they would have different types of books that target trees, that, you know, let them look at pictures of trees, fall, winter, spring. And the teacher may even read a book. She might read a book at story time that day and get them excited about what's going to happen later on that day, maybe the giving tree. And then she'll put that book in the reading center for them to look at. And sometimes you'll see them pretending they're actually reading the book where they saw the teacher model that. So we strategically plan things throughout each center to target the themes or whatever the objectives are for that classroom, for that month or that week.
And the thing that strikes me is, I guess, two things, and just listening to what you're saying now, is that number one, it's very important to have structure, and that folks, even older folks, but particularly children, not only need structure, but they're kind of looking for that structure. And so the the thing that the partnership does is supply that in a tested kind of process, which makes it significantly different. And I'm just asking this as a question mark. So apparently this makes it significantly different than just, quote, childcare.
Yes, that's right. It is not just childcare. It is planned play. It is critically devised to make sure that children are growing on their own developmental level. We have activities. Maybe a teacher might recognize that a child is behind on certain things. Maybe it's their writing skills or their fine motor. She will take time to develop something specifically for that child. And we go over this with the teachers, and we have such wonderful teachers in our pre-K classrooms. All of them are very dedicated to making sure that each child gets what they need individually in that classroom, even as a whole group or individually.
And the interesting thing is with your role, and I alluded to it in your introduction, is that you have gone through this process, actually understanding and doing what the teaching role is in various levels of structure within that organization, which seems to me makes you the perfect candidate for CEO, because it's like nobody can come to you and say, well, this don't work or that don't work, because you've already been there.
That's exactly right. With the different job experiences that I had, I taught for around 13 years, kindergarten and first grade. So I know those levels very well. I was assistant principal for around 6, principal for around a year in Hope County, pre-K coordinator for a year, and instructional coaching for 7 or 8. So I've had that wide range of experience. So it also lets me know where these people are coming from. I understand their level of what they can handle. I already had some relationships with these people in the public schools. I work for them, and now I'm working with those people in a different capacity. So I feel that gives me a really good understanding of how to help them. We get a lot of information.
Let's follow up on that. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back, and I want to pick that up from there. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're going to be back in a moment and continue this conversation about the importance of that 0 to 5 years of age and importance for our future. We're back in a moment.
If you run a business, you need sales. To get sales, you need customers. To get customers, you need exposure. Let our team of experts craft and produce the perfect video ad to reach your intended audience while making the most of your advertising dollars. Call 1-800-706-6538 or visit starcom.net to contact our Star Communications production team and get your business moving to the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you again for being with us today. We're talking with Donna Jackson. We're talking about the Partnership for Children. And Donna, you're eminently qualified to be CEO, and you are CEO. And we were going to break. We were talking about this critical importance of structure and some of the things you were alluding to, some of the things you have done in conjunction with your journey to be CEO that's critically important. And some of those was this structured in-classroom piece. And I would remind folks that we're talking about that age group that is pre-kindergarten. And a lot of folks don't really, I certainly don't give a lot of thought to that. But after multiple discussions with folks that are involved with what you do, it is so critical. So let's pick it up from there. Your role has been everything from teaching to principal right on around in that particular age group.
Yes, and you know, I don't know if you've ever heard of the 2,000 days theory, but we do have 2,000 days to get it right from the time a child is born to the time the child they go to kindergarten. There's 2,000 days, and in that time span, it's critical to place important curriculum and instruction pieces that's going to support that child's development in learning. And this is what we teach pre-K teachers. This is a structure that they follow. These are the guidelines that they use in the classroom. And we know that if they follow this, as much research has been done on the creative curriculum and the assessments that they use on TS Gold, we're going to get it very close to exactly right. Years and years of research proving this. So the classroom is set up to engage that child, excite that child about what learning is going on, but at the same time, they have what we call free play. Free play allowing them to choose where they want to play that day, but in a planned environment that makes sure that there is an objective focus there no matter what center they go to. We also make sure that they follow a regular schedule, because that is very important in life, that a child realizes, you get up at a certain time, you go to school, you go to lunch at a regular time, you do these things on a regular basis, and they seem to enjoy guidelines and rules. They remind the teachers of rules if they're not being followed. They can tell you what the rules are. After about a few weeks of being in a classroom, you can see the children just spit out the rules, because the teacher reminds them this is very important, because we need to respect other space. We need to respect what we do within the classroom and how we follow these rules.
One of the things that I've had teachers on in the past on this show, and they would make an observation that they could kind of look at their class in the morning when the children come in and sit down, and they could look around the room and they could almost tell you who had a bad night the night before. And I found it somewhat interesting, because it's almost like I hear you saying the same thing. When those, even though they're much younger, even though they're in the critical development years, you can actually see that as well?
Yes, you can. And we've seen the effects of COVID in the classrooms now and in the child care centers, because when we shut down or the child care centers were not open, children were at home. And, sometimes parents do not know how to teach their children on the right or the correct developmental levels. We can help them with that, but there was just a time span that children missed school for quite long periods of time, or missed daycare. So they got out of that routine, and so there seems to be some developmental delays now. Also, it also caused some social and emotional concerns. I know in the pre-K classrooms now, we are seeing a high rate of behavioral referrals. So we have worked on sending some of our staff out to support teachers with some of these behavioral concerns and getting things in place to help those teachers target those areas of concern with behaviors. One of the things that we put in place is some social emotional support with their emotional cushions. We have developed a cozy corner in the pre-K classroom, which if a child comes in, as you said, and we recognize that they're not very happy that day for whatever reason, there could be some things going on at home financially, especially with, the way things are today with COVID affecting everything. So they can we have several of the emotional cushions. They have different faces on them. The teacher might say, I'm seeing that you're not feeling very well today. Maybe you can pick out the cushion that shows how you're feeling, and they may pick up a sad face. And she will have a conversation with them about how they're feeling and why they're feeling this. She might ask them, would you like to go to the cozy corner? We call it the cozy corner. This allows them to just kind of escape the room for a little while and let go of some of their emotions. They might even cry, but they release these emotions over there. And in those cozy corners, you might see things like pictures of their parents or pictures of their pets. We've asked teachers to put these things up in the corner so that when they do have to go, they feel a little more secure about seeing their mom or seeing their dad or their dog or what have you, that gives them more of a comfort feeling.
It's almost like I hear you saying it allows them to understand how to deal with something that they've never experienced at that age. At the same time, we're seeing almost what you just said. We're seeing the same thing happening now with people 65 and less having anxiety issues. So it's almost like you're early on giving them a way to deal with something that inevitably they're going to deal with the older they get.
Yeah. And, it goes back to when you see people today that are having a lot of emotional concerns. Sometimes they didn't deal with it when they were young the proper way. It built and built. So we are looking at that today and trying to find unique ways to deal with it. We have emotional cards. We have little games they can play. But the main thing is that interaction from that teacher. And, we talk highly and support strongly a teacher interacting with that child. And we know assessments are important, and we say, yes, you need your assessment submitted online, but we also say, please take that critical time to sit with a child, have that one-on-one, because sometimes it makes a big difference in how they how the rest of their day goes. So it's just so important to take time with children and get those emotions out and deal with it. Contact the parents, make sure the parents are aware of what's going on. Sometimes the parents are not aware. So
to be clear, the 0 to 5 age group, there's not a mandate anywhere like public education where people are expected to be in class and those kinds of things. This is the period of time that some children end up in a daycare program that's not structured, or they're saying so-and-so can keep up to 5 children and they're in somebody's backyard and they're looked at every day, but there's no structure. What I'm hearing you saying is that structure is so critical, and to have some tested process is the key to the success of that child. And I guess we should say to folks listening and watching today, the success of your grandchildren, your children, depending on what age you are, this is something you need to think about.
Yes, you're going to see that in the future.
I see it as a serious issue.
Yes, it's a very serious issue. So it needs to be targeted early on. And like I said, the funds that come to the partnership are through state and federal funds. Mm-hmm. We have NC Pre-K funds and we have Smart Start funds. Now, I just spoke on the Pre-K funds, but the Smart Start funds target other programs that we have. One of the big ones that, as you were speaking about child care centers, is our program called QIM, Quality Improvement and Maintenance. And that is a program that we send staff out, highly qualified 4-year degrees, that go out into these daycare centers or homes, mm-hmm. and they make sure that they have resources on the shelf for these children, that they're going through their day with a schedule, that they have, they're following a curriculum, that they're conducting lesson plans. Consultants follow up on this as well, but we're their cushion, we're their go-to person. They mm-hmm. can call us. We also disseminate information from the state to them, so they look for our emails. Maybe they will get a grant through the state, but it comes usually through our emails. We make them well aware of things out there that they can apply for and get support and help with. But we do help them improve their star rating. A daycare or child care center is graded 1 to 5. Those are star ratings. Mm-hmm. We work with 3, 4, and 5 star centers. Mm-hmm. We will work with 1 and 2 star centers if they want our support, but we mainly work with 3, 4, and 5, and we help them either maintain their star rating or increase their star rating. And that is done through a planned process that we sit down with the director and we observe that center a couple of times, and we say, these are the things we see you might need in your center to work on. It might be getting more resources on the shelf. It might be the teacher's level of education. Let's work on that with them. It could be anything from, education to things needed in that center.
And I think the other thing I'm hearing from you is that not only are you a structured building and facility where children come to, but you reach out and actually help others create a certain level with this 5-star rating, hopefully within the 3, 4, and 5, rather than the 1 and 2, because that would tell you, as quote, the expert in this field, that these children are getting what they need. The profound thing here that's interesting to me is there's nothing, because you're a public-private partnership, so there's nothing here that says that you have a guaranteed budget. You look, donations is good, yes. Those kinds of things. But it's just so critical. It's almost like what we're talking about is something that is now an awakening for people, mm-hmm. or it should be. And as folks meeting boardrooms, whether they're commissioners or whether they're school boards or what have you, this should be a key focus in that community.
Yes, and what we're talking about now will affect the future. We will see that in the future. But if we keep putting things in place like we have, the state has been extremely supportive with Smart Start funds and NC Pre-K funds. If we continue to pour this into our schools and our child care centers, I think we're going to see some positive results. It takes a while for the results to show up, but we are looking at other ways to support the community. The child care centers with the 3, 4, and 5-star ratings can also receive subsidy support from us. And that is when, if a parent needs help with the child care payments and they can't afford it, it's called subsidy because we substitute some of that payment for the parent. And we also make sure that they are in a quality environment. That's why we focus on the 3, 4, and 5-star.
We're going to take a break. Ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. This is very critical information about the future of your children and your community. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment.
At home or away, knowing who is at your door is priceless. Star Communications is here to help with its doorbell security camera by Skybell. Live viewing and two-way audio equips you with the ability to always see and greet anyone that shows up at your door. If this is the kind of confidence you are looking for, call Star Communications today at 1-800-706-6538 to learn more about this intelligent security that you can always depend on.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We Should Know is on the air, and our guest today is Donna Jackson, CEO of the Sampson County Partnership for Children. Donna, we're covering a lot of very important key issues today, and as we go into this third segment, I want to make it clear that a lot of the things we're touching on could elaborate for hours in explaining and showing and going through the curriculum. So I want folks to understand this is a very meaty, deep subject, and we're really highlighting it. Hopefully that you get calls, that people reach out to you, that they start thinking about where their child is at this critical period of time from age 0 to 5, so to speak, and how critical it is that they are in some kind of structure. So let's pick that up and kind of come back to that angle of it and talk about that quality kind of period that you were elaborating on, and kind of explain a bit more in detail that piece. On break, we alluded to the psychological piece that COVID has presented, and the challenge is presented for you and the folks of the partnership.
Well, the time span of 0 to 5 is the time that the brain can be molded and worked with and trained to think, trained how to learn. And that's what we want to do. But that also requires a quality child care center or a quality pre-K classroom. And that's what we try to target. And I think we were speaking about our quality improvement and maintenance program, which we have staff go out and work with child care centers, because if a parent has a child in a center and they don't feel that that center is quality or safe, then they're not going to be able to work effectively. They're going to be worried about their child. So we want them to feel at ease. We want our child care centers in Sampson County and surrounding areas to be quality. So with our QUIM program, that's what we strive to do. We work with the 3, 4, and 5-star programs. We put things in place, a plan to improve those star rating centers or maintain. We also offer trainings to these centers and the schools, because they're required by the state, these centers, to have so many hours a year in trainings, PD. So we offer trainings. Our early learning specialists offer trainings at the partnership. There's a small fee for that. The schools can take the classes free. It could be things as simple as CPR, first aid, or playground safety, or emergency response plan.
Are these state sanctioned and certified?
They are. They're state certified, that we have to have our early learning specialists trained in this, and then they teach it, and we offer it several times a year. And they're required to have these things. So we really have to offer these things, because for them to go out of our county and try to get them is just not feasible. So we offer them at a low rate. This also helps our centers stay on base with what they should be getting each year. This keeps them in the know of a quality child care center, being able to serve CPR if it's needed. They are taught sanitation steps, how to sanitize the center to make sure that it's clean. We also offer health and safety, where teach children how to eat properly. These are just important things that make a well-rounded child. We focus on the whole child. We focus on the cognitive piece, as I said, teaching them to think today, firing those dendrites so that they know how to solve a problem. We work on the social emotional piece, which we know COVID's had a big impact on. We work on the language development, and actually this actual piece of just physical play, physical and health, getting them out of the building each day to play, getting some sunshine. That's a very important part of it as well, that schedule, that a child receives that.
Elaborate a bit on language, because I'm fascinated that at that age, people think, they'll figure it out. They'll learn somebody said something or what have you. But the language, from what I can read, is so critically important because it's the foundation of a lot of our communication, and it's more than just a grunt and point.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that facetiously, but sometimes children, that's all they get. They don't get that development and the ability to effectively articulate a sentence.
That's right. And what we support is, especially with teachers, when a child asks you a question, it's not a yes or no. You know, you offer open-ended questions so they can come back with explaining things to you, just as you've modeled explaining an answer to them. So it's kind of a two-way street. They're modeling how to answer things to children, and they ask children to expand on their answer instead of them just saying yes. Can you explain, you know, how that truck ran down that ramp a little faster than the other one? Can you? And then you do that a few times and practice that with their thinking, and they get better and better on that regurgitating of information that's stored in their brain. If you've ever been around someone that has a really hard time trying to tell you what they're thinking or what they're trying to say, that's because early on, and this has been proven through research and study, that they did not have that opportunity when they were younger. Maybe their parents didn't, you know, ask them to explain things, or maybe they, you know, when they asked their parent something, the parent may say, or the teacher, because. That's not an answer. We want to model what we want the children to give us back. So teaching in a way that shows and demonstrates an extended amount of conversation pieces is what we want to see teachers do in the daycare settings and in the pre-K settings. So communication is vital, is a very big part of it.
One word you used that I want to kind of circle back to is that modeling piece. It seems that also the role of parent and parenting, that maybe we as a society need to kind of think of ourselves more as that modeling agent, because it's, for example, you keep the kid for, I don't know, so many hours a day. That child then goes home and they look around and they may see something totally different from what they're seeing at your school.
Yeah, and it's amazing because sometimes children are in child care centers or in a pre-K classroom in a school longer than they are at home. And sometimes parents can't help that because maybe some of them have two jobs.
Sure.
But that is so important to surround the child with different types of learning that stimulates the brain. Now, we have a program called PAT, which means Parents as Teachers, and these staff are highly qualified 4-year degrees. They go to homes of parents that are signed into our program, and they work with that parent to teach and train them how to teach their child. As simple as that sounds, some parents just are not sure how to go about that process. So if they don't want their child in a daycare setting, they don't want them in a pre-K setting, but they want them at home until they go to a kindergarten setting, we can go out and work with that parent to teach them how to teach their child. That could be through a service of taking a tub that has objectives in it that helps that parent know, okay, this week we're working on shells. Let me talk to my child about counting these shells. We demonstrate how to teach this parent, how to teach the child, and then they can practice this a couple of times at home. We leave the tub with them, and they can really understand how that child is learning. And all of these tubs that we take to the home is on the child's level. You know, if the child is 3, we make sure it's geared to 3-year-old level. So the PAT staff is, they conduct an assessment when they first go out, and it's a family assessment, not a child assessment. So it's conducted on the entire family. It's called FAST. And they, from that, ask questions, and they find out how many risk factors that family has. Now, if a family has a high number of risk factors, then that means we need to visit that home more, maybe 2 to 3 times a month. If they have a low amount of risk factors, we might only need to visit 1 time. But this connects the parent with all types of learning resources that they can check out, even through our lending library. We have a lending library that is objective focused by containers, and the parent can check those out and keep them for about 30 days, I think we've set it at. So this is a great opportunity to involve the parent in the child's learning. So.
This process is interesting to me, particularly as it relates to the principles we're talking about and the understanding of the parent, the the thing that strikes me is there's almost a need for an education program somewhere for parents before they become parents, if that makes any sense.
That's right.
That we need to check off this, because I read something that said typically we parent as we were parented. So the idea behind the article was that if there's a flaw in the way we're parenting, it just transcends through generations.
That's right.
And nobody challenges. Is that a truism?
That's exactly right, because parents model what their parents did with them most of the time. They're going to react and teach the way they were taught. And if it's, in an aggressive way, then that's what they remember. Or
an abusive way.
That's right. And it's not that they do it intentionally. I think that's just how they know it.
Yeah.
They've not seen any other way to do it. And so that's what our program does. It teaches the parent a more supportive way to give that child an education on the appropriate developmental levels.
And that creates a challenge when you have that kind of child, because you can probably see some of those dynamics, how should I put it, being violated, so to speak.
That's right. And we also work with the parents through a program called Dolly Parton Linden Library. Dolly Parton Library. And what that is, I don't know if you know the history with Dolly, but she really saw her dad struggle with reading. He was illiterate, so he could not read. And she started the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, and that is where Dolly sends a book a month right straight to a mailbox, personalized with the child's name on it, for the parent to read to the child. Now, in a situation where maybe the parent's not really fond of reading to the child, then they can go on Goodnight Dolly online, and those books will be read to them, to the child. You can find the book, you can Google it and find the book, and it's read to the child.
I want to continue the Dolly Parton thing. We're going to be coming up right now on our last segment, but I want to continue that, and I want to talk to you about a couple of other programs that we've missed. This last segment, we talked about this before we went on air. There's so much to be captured and shared with what you do and what your organization does. Yes. I want to try to get as many of those highlights as I can in this last segment. It's really not only important, but I'm going to close this segment before we go into the next one, saying it's critical for folks to understand. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're talking about critical issues regards to the development of children and our future that you need to know more about. We'll be back in a moment.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Coming up on our last segment here on the show called We Should Know. I'm J.W. Simmons, your host. We're talking with Donna Jackson. She's the CEO of Sampson County Partnership for Children. Donna, I'm going to give this phone number out. It's 592-9399.
That's correct.
910-592-9399. They reach your office at that number.
Yes.
Folks that are listening to these critical issues that you've been explaining and discussing can reach you for further clarification, for better understanding. I'm thinking that you would probably go out and talk to a group or church group or whoever wants more information on this. This is critically important. So I want to get you back on air now. Let's follow up some things that maybe we have missed regards to Partnership for Children. I think I alluded to this. You have a board of directors that has, and I'll say this because I don't want to get into calling everybody's name because I might leave somebody out off the top of my head here, but it's a very, very in-depth, outstanding group of leaders in this county that is on your board of directors, and they can go to your website and pull all that information up. But the folks you have on your board as directors and governance are people that we all know. We all know the outstanding jobs they've done in the community, and they're kind of your soulmates, so to speak. So let's pick back up with where we were in this conversation as we close.
Well, and I would like to say that we are governed by a board, and we do have a wonderfully strong board. They have guided me. They've been so good about the transition process of me going from early learning specialist to the executive director, and they have been so helpful, and they're so knowledgeable about things that we need in the community. So they've helped guide me as to some programs we need to implement into the partnership, and that's
and
what
each
we're
one
going.
of those people are community leaders.
Oh yes, yes,
very educated
strong,
people,
extremely educated, and very vocal about things that they highly support the community, and that's what we need.
Yeah, your board chair is Kathy O'Dell.
Yes.
You've got in leadership a number of people in leadership that they'll recognize those names.
Yes, yes.
So we're back at some of these key principles that we were talking about that folks need to be aware of going forward. And one of the programs you were discussing was the Dolly Parton Library, which is huge because it's nationwide.
Yes, it is. Yes, Dolly, as I said before, her father was illiterate, so that really, spurred her to want to do something for literacy. And it's a great program, as you said, it's worldwide. She started small in her community, wanting to just help her community, and then it just kept spreading and growing. And it's been such a strong resource for parents that it comes right to their mailbox. How convenient is that? And if they want to sign up, they are welcome to go to our website, or they can come to the partnership and get a application. We'll be happy to have them sign on.
The one we've talked about a number of programs, the Dolly Parton program, the program in which there's this teaching with parents and the children understanding that. Pat, I think you referred to it as one of the programs I want you to touch on, which to me is when you first look at it, you're going, what is that? What could that be? But it's called Safe Surrender.
Yes.
And that program really gets to a point of this discussion that is extremely sad. Talk to us about that.
It's an emotional thing, but by law, a parent has 7 days to surrender their child if they feel that they cannot handle the situation. Some parents have a child and they just realize what a big responsibility it is, and they feel they cannot handle it. Maybe they become very emotional and they have feelings that they are scared of. So we are a safe surrender site. They can bring their child there. We are not supposed to ask questions. If they want to give information, they can. But we are there to help that child get to the appropriate place.
So what do they do? I mean, a parent that's hearing this today, and maybe one of these people that's got emotional issues, and I say, I can't take care of this child.
Right.
And they look at the address of 211 West Main Street, and I mean, there's obviously certain hours you're there, there's nobody there, but we've seen this happen in the past. It shouldn't be a shock to folks listening to this show. Folks have seen children left on doorsteps of folks.
That's right.
They've seen children left at fire departments. But the safe surrender thing, does that remove them from legal issues?
Yes, it does. It releases them within those first 7 days of any legal negativity from that, but they can bring it to the partnership. We will take it from there. Like I said, we don't ask questions. We get it, maybe we call social services and get it to the appropriate places. But, it's good when a parent can recognize these things instead of doing something that shouldn't happen. They recognize their feelings or they feel that they're overwhelmed. So that's why we're there. We're a safe haven for that child.
So the part of this is, as folks is listening today, some people are probably scratching their heads. Some people may be relieved to know that they can do that. But the piece that's really troublesome to folks is that we've had folks on this show from our Department of Social Services that talked about foster care and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Does those children ultimately end up in a foster care program somewhere because they're stretched? They
possibly could. And sometimes one parent doesn't tell the other parent that they're surrendering. So,
really?
And maybe if a mother surrenders and a father doesn't know and they find out, of course, they can take it from there. But we try to stay out of all of that. We just make sure the child is taken to a safe haven and taken care of from there. But, you have to respect the fact that they are recognizing what's going on and they do take a step to make sure that their baby is going to be safe.
Is that something that, I guess 2 questions here, is that something that your partnership recognizes? Has that actually happened? Is it frequent? And throughout the state with partnerships, is that something that is happening regularly?
Well, I know it has happened in the past, not at our partnership since I've been there. But, it opens your eyes up to the fact that this is real. These really happens. And it's like you said, it's eye-opening when you find out that this might happen. But we respect the parent that might do that, and we want to help them. So,
Well, I'm thinking there's so many of these things I want to try to make sure we touch on and we look at. A couple of other programs that we've talked about, Dolly Parton, but then there's also this thing that you've got going called a lending library.
Yes, and I think I spoke
that's a little bit different.
That. Yeah, a lending library is a resource that is just full of lending library tubs, objective focus, and a parent, a teacher, a community member, anyone can come in and check out those tubs and teach their child from it or just utilize it as needed. We also have Buckle Up program, which is which you can teach a parent how to buckle their child safely in a car seat. We have trained staff that run this program, and they call the partnership and they sign up to come in for an appointment, and we teach that parent how to buckle their child in safely. Mm-hmm. You know that the number one death in North Carolina is car accidents from age 1 to age 14. Mm-hmm. So we recognize that we need to at least have them safe in a car seat, but if they're on Medicaid, they can get a brand new car seat from us for $20. And if they don't have Medicaid, but they have insurance, they can get a brand new car seat for $40. And these are very nice car seats. So we highly encourage parents, if they want to know how to buckle their child in safely and securely, please call the partnership and make an appointment. We've
touched on a number of issues. I want to try to get this one in. We got about 2 or 3 minutes left here. The whole thing that we know in this population, region of the state, as far as that goes, in the country, we're seeing a huge influx of the need to have bilingual communication.
Yes.
A lot of Latino folks. How do you address that? Because that's a whole nother population with a huge volume of children that's coming in. I mean, as a civil society, we can't close this out without you mentioning that.
Yes, I know in our pre-K classrooms, we have about 1/3 of the students that are Hispanic. Mm-hmm. And what we do with any type of other language that we encounter is we try to offer a support source, like maybe putting things in the classroom in 2 types of languages, especially Hispanic. We have the word written rules up there, and we'll have it in Spanish as well. So it helps the child feel more at ease about being able to read that. We work with the children. A lot of times children teach children, especially the English language. They're helping other children learn the English. So we have the teacher work with them one-on-one if they need a little more guidance with that. So there are programs within the school and other places that can help the Hispanic children learn the language a little bit better as we're working one-on-one with them.
Do you find that particular segment of what you're doing is increasing? You mentioned about 1/3 or what have you.
Yes.
Do you have a sense that that's increasing in numbers, and are you anticipating it increasing?
Yes, we do. We do see that happening. It's just different areas of the county. You know, it might be a little higher in certain areas according to whether they're farm areas or not. But we are looking at a plan to put things in place to help support that a little more for these children.
And going forward, for those that would like to help or reach out and be part of what you're leading, they can reach you at 592-9399. That's 910. Wherever they're listening from, Partnership for Children of Sampson County. Is there one of these organizations in each county in the state, or are they?
Yes. There should
so
be.
Each county can reach out to a partnership in their county?
Yes. There should be one in each county.
So that's tremendous, because their listening and viewing audience is much broader than one county. So there's another Donna somewhere that can deal with their problem or assist them. And should not feel embarrassed or any way set back by calling. This is not a charitable thing. This is a behavioral thing that they need.
And we would love to have parents call, or anyone, a child care center, give us feedback. Let us know how we can support you more, because that's what we're here for. Something else I'd just like to touch base on
is about 20 seconds.
We have a diaper bank now, so please call if you would like to sign up for our diaper bank. And thanks to South River EMC for giving us the funds to start that, and it has really took off well. So we're very pleased about that.
And that I think that comes great with Kathy Odell being a part of your board as well, and also being a huge part of leadership at South River. So I want to thank you for being here and sharing this. And I will say to folks, and I'm pretty sure you would agree, we've kind of scratched the surface on a lot of these issues. Again, and remind folks to reach out to you and talk to you and let you know how they can help.
That's right.
Thank you, Donna. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today. These programs we have is critical information, very important for you to know. And a lot of times we scratch the surface. So reach out to Donna. We'll be back next week, and may God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.